Welcome once again to another rendition of We Rise Podcast. My guest this evening is Elias Seife, and we're going to have a little conversation about things of importance to both of us. I've had a great career thus far. I've been in the room with some very powerful, influential, articulate, persuasive thinkers all of my life. I mean, the list is endless. From Jesse Jackson to Muhammad Ali, you name it, I've been there. With Martin, with Abernathy, you name it, I've been there. All over the country, all over the world, because I've been able to travel abroad and met with some of the world's leaders on a tour that my good friend, Governor Jeb Bush, allowed me to participate in. Even went to Cuba back in the early days, and folks said that I should not go. But before I went to all of my Cuban friends and said to them that I need to have my own experience. I need to go to the country. I need to meet the people. And I was part of a delegation of about 40 people who went over to see things after Fidel Castro was in charge. We looked at the educational system, we looked at the health system, had a great time in the country. Came back home and began to continue my work. As you know, I'm always involved around the whole sphere of education, trying to refocus achievement as the primary role for us to be pursuing as a community of people. And I had just an outstanding experience during the period of time that we were trying to select a new superintendent. And a lot of us came out to make presentations and voice our opinions about the process, whether or not it was the right process or the best process or a biased process or a racist process, etc. There was this guy that I became aware of, who is my guest this evening. I liked him. I liked him because he had content. I liked him because he had content that was focused and daring. I liked him because he was broad and comprehensive in his thinking. And I said, I need to know this guy. I need to know him better. Most importantly, I need to know him because of the fact that he is concerned about education. He's concerned about the role that parents can play in influencing the policy that impacts on education. So I said, I need to really know this guy. So I started watching him as he made his appearances before the school board. I started reading the content of that which he was presenting. Came away convinced and said, wow, this guy is in a class by himself, and I need to really sit at his feet and learn some new things about what should be done as we attempt to persuade the policymakers to embrace and give value to the parents of the children to whom they have the responsibility of serving. So, my good friend, welcome to the We Rise Podcast.
What an introduction. First of all, thank you for the wonderful and explanation and presentation. I'd like to give my own little detail about how I got to meet Mr. Fair. One of the things I usually like to do is do some research into different topics into the education system, because I think that what's happening today is we need more education. You know, our children need to have more education. We need our country needs education. That's how you progress. You know, so one of the things that I saw was our public schools have been diminishing in enrollment, especially the traditional public schools. So one of the things that I saw was that the Black community, in particular, there was like a 20% decrease in the Black population. in the traditional public schools. So I said, oh, it seems a little strange, you know. So I did a little bit further research, and I found that not only the black children were not going by the same percentage um, of black children, the black population in Dade County had decreased. So I presented that in one of my documents, and I believe that you saw that, and that was one of the parts that
Yes.
was very interesting.
Yes.
And that's how we got to meet. We now have many other things to share that are very interesting. So I found that it's very important to meet people from different communities, and especially like Mr. Fair, you say, find different points of how we can coalesce. We're a nation, we're all Americans, right? With different ethnicities. You happen to be a Black American, I happen to be an Hispanic American. So I think that what our country needs today more than ever is to find points of interest and points that we have some commonality. That's the meaning of a nation. If we have nothing in common, then we don't have to be a nation anymore. So that's where I'm coming from, and that's why I'm here. I'm not running for office.
You're not?
No.
Oh, I'm surprised.
I'm not coming in.
I thought you were running for office. That's why I invited you.
I'm
I
not
was
coming in.
your campaign manager.
No donations. I'm not coming for any kind of donations. You don't owe me any money. And I don't owe you any money. So I'm here just to basically make sure that people understand that people need to think outside the box. They need to get out of their comfort zone. So when that happens, good things happen. So that's where I'm coming from, and if we can have more of these conversations and we have more of these opportunities, by all means, this is where we need to go.
Yeah, I think it's incidental that you are Hispanic and I'm Black. I think what joins us at the hip is that we think alike.
Yeah, in many ways.
Yeah, we think alike.
Yes.
I think that's the attractiveness.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
when I was reading your stuff, I said, yeah, that's what I believe also.
Absolutely. And that there's no color to that.
None whatsoever.
There's no ethnicity to that. That's just humanity.
None whatsoever.
And at the same time, I always say that people are different, but they're also very alike in many ways, right? So we celebrate that diversity. We celebrate the commonalities. So, and we're all different, and but we're also all in many ways the same.
We're all human.
We're all human, correct?
We get shaped by what we social workers call the socialization process.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So you can drop me in Cuba,
mm-hmm.
and I will become Cuban over a period of time in terms of my behavior, my customs, my language, etc. And I can drop you in Africa.
Yep.
And the same kind of socialization process will take place. People do adapt to the whole process.
Absolutely.
It is in this great country called America
that
we begin to make those distinctions
mm-hmm.
Based on the color of our skin,
right,
or whoever or whatever we believe in that whole process.
And then comes the point where you people try to better themselves, and that's why I'm involved, and that's why we need to progress. We need to move forward with our families, and our education, and try to the whole idea behind you want your children to be in a better position than you were. All of that. That's what America was all about years ago, and I still believe in that.
Yeah, I think what is the string that ties us together
mm-hmm.
is that even though we may be different in terms of ethnicity,
mm-hmm.
Our religion may be different,
mm-hmm.
But we both have a passion about what education ought to be for children.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not Black children, not white children, not Hispanic children,
mm-hmm.
But what education ought to be for children. As I've read your stuff, it's not about I am a Cuban parent who is concerned about Cuban children and how they live.
Not at all.
Your stuff speaks to parenting and what parents ought to be concerned about as it relates to the education delivery system for their children.
Yes, the most important concept that I heard you say, which I'm totally in 100% in agreement, is that parents need to make sure that their children learn. Your teacher can do so much, but if the parents are not involved and they're here making sure they got their homework and how's they doing at school, they have to be on top of the situation. If that doesn't happen, then even kids who are smart, they just, because one of the most important things that children learn is discipline, and discipline comes with hard work, and that's a parent's. Teachers can do certain much, and a principal and a so-and-so and a mentor, but that person that sees you on a most of the day, people you sleep, you have the home. That's why it's important that parents get involved. Now, obviously, not all parents have the same capabilities and capacities. They work, they have lots of jobs and different responsibilities. But at the end of the day, that's what's going to make the difference.
Yeah, and I think that parents who know that they have to work figure out a way to make sure that work does not interfere with them exercising their parental responsibilities.
Yes.
My mother worked at night. Didn't see my mother until on the weekend. When the report card came out, what she looked at was not my grades, but the conduct section. And she told the teachers at the outset, that's my section. I will send him to be taught. And if you have to teach him how to behave, then I have not done my job. I'm not the teacher. That's your job. I will give you a child that is well-mannered, that is going to behave, and will not be disruptive in your classroom.
That's absolutely true.
Okay, that's why you sit here, because
right.
You came from a similar kind of environment. This does not come by osmosis. It comes by parents understanding that they are in partnership with the educational system to turn out the best possible student.
And my parents weren't always there. But they made me understand that school was important, and that's part of the equation.
That's part of the equation. It knows no color, knows no ethnicity, knows no religion,
and they both worked. And I went to schools in the 70s, and I went to different schools. I went to one, I think, kind of close to here, Arcola Lakes Elementary and Blanton Elementary, and then later I went to Ada Merritt, and then Booker T. Washington. I went to many schools in Dade County, and with different ethnic populations, let's put it that way. So and in all of them, it was important that we all got to learn, and somehow we have to make sure that continues happening for the future of our country.
I think that's very important. I think what's even more important is the understanding that the school population is no longer white and black. That we're the fourth largest school district in the world. That we now have a conglomerate of all races and religions. And therefore, as we attempt to execute the teaching process and the educational process, we must be fully aware of that existence. And one of the things that disturbs me is that I don't feel that the current policymakers understand the complexities that are associated now with delivering quality education to such a diverse group. What do you feel about that?
Oh, I just know that there's so many things going on culturally, and we're such we have people from pretty much all over the world in Dade County.
Yes.
And it continues to change, and including people that are not even legal illegal residents here, so they have
Going by leaps and bounds every day.
and they have different challenges themselves, right? So it's a tough job. It's a tough job, but what needs to happen is that's why it's so important that parent input, that citizen input, because guess what? I always say that the public schools belong to the public, but if the public doesn't get involved, it doesn't belong to the public anymore. It belongs to the people who administer the schools. So if you want the public schools to belong to you, you have to get involved in some way. And if not, it's always, people think just like any other part of government, if you're not involved in your government, then the government will make decisions for you, whether those decisions may be in your best interest or they may not be in your best interest. But then if they don't concord with what you think is good, you can't. If you didn't do your best to say what your point of view was, then you have no reason to complain.
Well, public involvement is important.
Yes.
But when you look at the current operational process, I would conclude that they don't want public involvement.
Well, that's always been the.
Do you want public involvement when you have a school board meeting at 2:00 in the daytime? Do you want public involvement when the presentation by any public person can only be 2 minutes?
It's tough.
Are you just going through the process of giving the appearance?
I never say it's easy, and that's where
it's got to be easy.
Of course,
it's got to be easy if you want me to be involved.
Yeah.
You're making it difficult.
Yeah. So it's.
So what can we do about it?
There has to be.
I'm ask you my
there should be.
What we gonna do about it?
There should be a balance some way.
It's got to be a balance.
Yes, and
it's not.
You're not gonna always. We're not gonna always get what we want, right? Because we always have to. Like I always like to say, whenever I talking to somebody, whether talking to you or someone talking to who may agree or disagree, I always say I like to put myself in their position. I always like to put myself. How would I, if I were so-and-so administrator, if I were so-and-so principal, if I were so-and-so teacher, how would I treat Mr. Seife? How would what would be my concerns? And then I would, play devil's advocate with myself. So you always try to be fair in the way when you're negotiating, when you're trying to come to an arrangement, when you're coming to some kind of the common good, because that's what we're all about, right? We want to achieve the common good. We have to somehow, arrive at something that makes sense. We have to be reasonable. And that's why when I write something, I try to, even though people may disagree with me, I try to support all my positions. That's very, very important, because then I disagree with you, but I see where you're coming from. So that's where I think that's one of the things that's going to make our country strong again, which is people don't just shoot from the hip. I dislike people who shoot from the hip, because it's, and unfortunately elected officials from all sorts of, ways of life, they like to shoot from the hip, and they always say, if you're Democrat, then you must agree with so and so, and if you're Republican, then you must agree with so and so, and that's not true. You're your own person, and by your example, you're going to actually affect the school board. You're going to affect your elected officials. You're going to affect your families, and you're going to affect your country. So those are the kind of things that move me to actually be here with you, that we can find things that we find in common and move forward and try to put ourselves in the position. How would I feel if I were in the Black community today? How would I feel if I were in the Hispanic community today? And what are their issues? How can we find things that make sense and are reasonable, and what's always been the objective of our country is to find the common good. So those are the kind of things that I I try to find. And when I try to influence the school board in any kind of way, I try to put it in a way that this is really what you really want. This is not something I want. This is something that we all want. We have to forget about ourselves and many times put our collective interest involved. And that's not, when you start thinking that way, things get easier, I've found.
It gets easier if when you step up to the podium
Mm-hmm.
and you articulate a position about dwindling enrollment.
And that's
And I
unequivocal.
come behind you
Mm-hmm.
from Liberty City
Mm-hmm.
and I articulate the same position.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Then we have got
Oh yeah.
the possibility of influencing their
Oh, yeah.
decision.
Well, I don't know if you're aware, but the school district recently approved a recruitment officer. They're now going to have an administrator just for that purpose, to recruit more students. So that's something in
What
itself.
a waste of money. What a colossal waste of money
You know.
for you to hire somebody
Yeah.
to recruit students
To recruit.
for a free education.
Yeah.
What a colossal waste of money.
I just found out about that very recently. Just in the last school board meeting. I was not aware, but I just wanted, since we're talking about that,
Yeah.
I thought that would be an interesting thing to mention to you.
Does that make any sense to you?
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry, you're not running for office.
I'm not running.
Does that make any sense? Here we got dwindling enrollment.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Here we've got Black students leaving en masse,
Yes.
going other places or
Other
no
place.
place at all.
Or no place at all. Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the solution
Mm-hmm.
of these great minds
Mm-hmm.
is that it's because we don't have somebody that's recruiting them.
Like I would just say that it wasn't something that I thought about, but
You need to think about that. You're my thinker. You need to think about that. Does that make any sense? If you can't say it, write it and put my name to it. That makes no sense.
I think that there may be lots of ways to attack that issue.
So why are the students going elsewhere?
Well, we found out that the Black students weren't actually leaving the public schools per se; they were leaving Dade County. So
That's right.
that was
That's right. So the population in Dade County that used to be predominantly Black now has moved to Broward County. Broward County has more Black people today
Mhm.
than Dade County does.
right. So
So he's had this exodus
right from Dade County.
for a variety of reasons.
We'll
Going
maybe
elsewhere.
we'll talk about that some other day.
Yeah, right. Then we've got the charter school movement.
Right. That just to clarify, the Black population in those charter schools have stayed the same.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's part of the exodus
Yeah.
from public education as they know it. It's all public education.
Yes. Public education.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's all public education. So we have seen a migration out of Dade County
Yes, and I
of
think
Black
that,
people.
of Black people, and I would say I haven't researched it, but there may be other people also. Because Dade County has become very, very expensive. It's one of the most
Absolutely.
expensive counties in the whole United States.
Yes.
You
And
know,
it's going to get more and more
and it's going to
expensive
get worse.
because we've got 264,000 new people that moved in the last 2 years
And
because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they brought $17 billion in wealth with them. So you can imagine.
Right. And you can discuss it all you want, but people want to come here.
Oh, absolutely. Paradise.
Right. So if it wasn't because if Dade County was terrible, people wouldn't want to come
Not
here, and the
whatsoever.
prices would not be going up as much.
Not whatsoever.
So you have that is a truth in
It's
that.
an attractive place to be.
You're right. Correct.
And to come and see.
So like I said, we do have a new recruitment. We're going to be recruiting a recruitment officer. So
A recruitment officer.
Yes, we're gonna
to deal with the dwindling
with the dwindling enrollment. Correct.
enrollment of our students. Good.
Absolutely.
You're now the superintendent of the Dade County Public Schools. What would be your solution to that problem?
Wow, that's a big.
Not for you.
Well,
Now tell me what
I'm
you
just
do,
a, I'm
Mr.
just a little.
Superintendent.
I'm just a little parent.
Yeah, but with a giant mind. So go ahead and tell me how we.
Well, it starts, I think, with customer service.
Okay, all
You
right.
know, there what parents and students, especially parents, the ones who bring the students to the schools, I would say is to feel welcome, right? That they feel
Yes.
that if it, for those parents that
Yes.
do participate, because there's some parents that don't participate,
Yeah.
and there is that argument that parents who do participate have been taking their kids out of the public schools and taking them, the traditional one, and taking them to charter schools because for whatever reason they believe that they have better attention or better or because the students are come from a different they how would I say they have they're in an economic class that may coalesce with what their economic class is. There's a lot of folks who believe that if you go to a charter school, it's because you want to be with a person who's in your economic class. Whether it's in the whether you're in the middle class or in the higher middle class or you're in the so that is an attractiveness that that folks have. People are selective many times, not because of the education per se, but because the people that you're going to be associating with, right, are going to be people in your ambiance, people who you how would I say the word is feel comfortable with, right? So that's been one of the issues that I've always heard. I can't say for sure, right?
That's a good issue.
Right.
And the key word is the parents take their children out of those schools.
Right.
Which means that those parents
because they want
made
their
a
kids
conscious decision that this place is not the best place
for them,
for my child.
Right. Because they want them to associate
That's
with
right.
with children who have parents that have the similar interests.
That is correct. That's correct.
That's
so in my 13 schools in the village, on the first day of school, my parents send their kids to school. They send their kids to school because the law says that at the age of 6, a child must be registered in the public education system.
Correct.
And if that does not occur, then you have a problem with the law.
Yeah.
Going forward, parents take their kids to my charter school, which means that they have done some research. This is the place. I like the curriculum. I like the teachers. I like the physical building, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Big difference.
Right. They make conscious decisions.
Big difference.
Just like the magnet schools.
Big difference.
People choose to go to these
big difference. Schools. So you sit here because your parents made some choices. That's right. I sit here because my parents decided that my kids are going to be educated. And as a result of having made that decision, it did not matter whether or not the teachers were inferior or superior. They knew that I was smart, and they demanded nothing else but the evidence that I was. Same with you. Same with you. So the more we talk, the more we align.
Yes. Absolutely.
The more we alike, the more we can get some things done.
Oh yeah, for sure. We can push a couple of buttons here and there.
No, without a doubt, because at the end of the day, this whole issue that I talk about, ethnic coalescing, it's going to be very important. If we're going to change the system, I can't go down there simply talking about black children.
No.
I got to talk about children.
Children in general, correct.
In general.
Yeah.
I can talk about the village because that's where I'm located. But when I look at my 13 schools, Hialeah is moving across 27th Avenue into Liberty City.
That's true.
When I look at the enrollment at Liberty Square Housing Project, significant Hispanic enrollment. When I look at the housing around my office. When I came here, it was all white when I purchased this property. Then it became all black. Now it's all Hispanic.
Wow.
So when I look at the demographic change of my community, it says that I need to have a much more meaningful relationship with you and other folks, because the problems that we have are the problems that know no ethnicity, no race, nor religion. And we become more powerful.
You work towards the common good.
That's good. We become more
It's
powerful.
always, people were right when they created this country in that sense.
Yeah.
Obviously nothing was perfect. It's far from perfect, but through time, we've created the structure to actually, make the individual, right, powerful. That's, it's the difference between a tyrannical state and a democracy is that in a communist or a totalitarian state, the state is the one that makes all the decisions and the individual just has to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And in our kind of system, the individual is the one who's supposed to have the power. And then they serve, and our elected officials serve us. But somehow, we have to make sure that we understand that. If we don't understand that, then the democracy doesn't work the same way we envisioned it many years ago.
And those of us who are members of minority groups have to understand that that's just a number.
Mm-hmm.
That if we coalesce together,
sure,
based on common goals,
correct,
that we can bring about change in the large system going forward.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty.
And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just nothing is gonna always please everyone. But you do,
as long as it's sincere and honest.
And you
everything else will take care of
you have
itself.
a reason for doing it. And believe me, it can happen.
Yeah, I think the thing that is important that those of us who think alike
Mm-hmm.
will be able to overcome things like religion
Mm-hmm.
and skin color,
Sure,
and culture,
right,
and sexuality. That if we have a common agreement on our philosophical opinions,
right,
that we can get some things.
we need to agree on certain basic things, and more, I see every day that just how can that be possible? You look at something that's happening and you say, that's like the reverse of what was a couple of years ago. Something that, I'm not going to go into specifics, but things that just don't make zero sense, where people of all philosophies agree on certain things. And it doesn't seem like that's the case anymore in many ways.
Why?
It's very frustrating.
Why?
Because I believe, like I've said before, that there's a great movement toward division. And with the reason there is division is because people want to, I think, fundamentally change our system.
Or stay in power.
Or basically control the state.
Yeah.
So, which is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So if we don't do things like what we're doing today with, we need to make sure that people understand that the people are the ones who decide, not the people in the high places that you don't even get to talk to or anything, So that's why I'm here, and I congratulate you for many of your positions that are not necessarily many times convenient to many, but you state your opinion in a way that I believe is clear, and folks can agree or disagree, and
That's the beauty of being in America.
And doing it in a respectful way.
Yeah.
Always being respectful.
Yeah.
And if people don't like what I have to say, then, or I don't like what somebody else says, hey, it's your opinion. You just, you don't have to try to take all my job away, or you don't have to try to badmouth me here or there or whatever. And we're seeing that a lot. It's so destructive. It's we need to change that.
Well, the beauty of this conversation is that we are two different persons from two different ethnic backgrounds,
Different histories, completely.
different histories, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there is a commonness of our thought.
Sure.
And as a result of that, that's why we have been attracted to each other.
Sure.
What you were saying and what I was reading, I said, that's right on target. That's right on target. Get him, which means then that what we do and what we say knows no ethnicity.
Yeah, and
knows no bias.
And sometimes the biggest statement is the most important thing you can say is something that just makes sense to regular folks. I think that that's what people are yearning for. Just it's like, like when somebody just goes and breaks through the ice and doesn't go in this direction or doesn't go in this direction, but just goes straight through the middle and says, you're wrong. This is the right way to go. And this is the reason why we need to go in this direction. And we've lost that. Nobody's willing to take risks. Nobody's, you owe your allegiances to either one political faction or to the other. And, the day that I do that, we've lost. And we need to find common ground. If we don't, we're lost.
But that's a price to be paid when you seek to be different in the process.
Sure.
Many of the positions that we have articulated, people say, well, you can't do that, you can't say that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you do that and say that, then there's a penalty to be paid.
Right. You're going to be shunned. You're going to be. You're not a member of this
not
of our
funded,
group.
All of them.
You're not advocate. You don't like us, or you don't. You're not this way. You're not that way. You have to feel comfortable with yourself.
Yeah, I think you have to also know that what you're saying and doing is what a lot of folks would like to say and do,
and don't have that opportunity.
Don't have the opportunity, nor the courage. I wrote an article in the Miami Times, which is the Black weekly newspaper in our community, for about 10 years. It was the most read article in the history of the paper. It was entitled "Someone Needs to Speak Out." And I spoke out in non-conventional ways on all issues. And when things were right in my community, I cheered them on. And when things were wrong in my community, I also condemned them at this point.
Yeah, that's one of the important things that I tell folks, that if you're going to be an advocate, you can't be a person who applauds all the time, or you can't be a person that is complaining all the time, because you lose complete credibility. You have to be able to, even if somebody you don't like does something right, you have to be willing to say, hey, you did
that was
right.
good.
That was good. You did the right thing.
That's right. That was good.
You don't have to like the guy or the person.
Not whatsoever.
But you have. It's your responsibility.
It's not personal.
And if you don't do that, then you lose credibility.
And
the same thing the other way around. If somebody who you really like doesn't do something right, it's your responsibility to tell them that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's why my article was the most read article in the history of the paper, because.
And that's what we're losing today.
Yeah.
We're losing.
Everybody wants to be popular. Everybody wants to be like, when I walk in, I want everybody to like me.
That's why I'm not into elected office. So it's important to have people that do that. And I try to encourage other people like myself. I saw that attitude in you, and I applaud that. And I'm here because I think that we need more folks like that.
So we've got the school board We've got the end of a pandemic coming up.
Sure.
We're getting ready for school year 22-23. I just sent a 3-page single-space letter to the school board and the superintendent. I will send you a copy of it.
That'd be nice.
So I can get your reaction
Sure.
of it. But what I've said to them is that we need to understand coming out of the pandemic that before the pandemic, Black and brown children were behind. Coming out of the pandemic, Black and brown children and all children are behind.
Sure.
So what's the form of equity to catch up that's going to address all of those? How would you advise the school board to handle that issue?
Well, if all of them,
everybody's behind.
everybody's minus.
Yeah, everybody's minus. I'm more minus because I was minus before.
We don't know what we don't know. All right, is how much minus is every single group, right?
Okay, right.
So I guess the first step would be to find out how much minus is everybody.
Okay.
Right? But once you find out how much minus is everybody, then you can start developing some kind of strategy to move to invest in those people who maybe have done the worst. Obviously, not forgetting, and this is where I always have an issue. I've had issues with the school system that you can't forget about the higher achievers and the people who actually work really hard. You can't just leave them out on a lurch and forget about the schools who have that their parents want to that they care about their kids and stuff like that. One of the things that I've talked about many times was the government obligation bond, right? There were millions and millions of dollars, $1.2 billion that were given to the school system for the capital improvements to all our schools in 2012. And yet there was many schools that haven't very much been touched by the capital improvements. So I think at last count was like we still have like $300 million that we haven't invested in schools. And to my surprise, there was some schools that are in the Black neighborhoods, like I think Skylark Elementary. They have like I don't remember how many millions and millions of dollars they had budgeted to them, right? And they have very little that has been done. So I think that before we need to look a little bit better into that. If we want our schools to be better, we have to make sure that we are improving them in at least in terms of capital improvements in a nicer way. You see all these nice, wonderful charter schools that have these nice new buildings, but of course you're going to want to have your kids in a nicer, newer building if those are available. But if our schools that we give them, the schools, the citizens have said, yes, we want to give you the money. And then 10 years later, 9 or 10 years later, what happened? And now we're thinking about actually, we may be needing to close some schools because of the enrollment. So that's also an issue. What do you do with the monies that were promised to those schools that some schools that may be closing? What happens to those monies? So they're going to have to be transferred to other schools. Unfortunately, right?
Yeah, you're correct. I'm vice chairperson of the Government Bond Advisory Committee.
Okay.
And the difference between a school having gotten all of the things that it wanted done, and B school has not, has been based on what you already talked about, parent insistence.
Absolutely, and that happened. That I came to the school board several times and made sure that where my child was going to school, that they actually did Did
it happen?
It happened.
It happened. It happened.
1 year after my child left, but
It happened.
It happened nonetheless. Yes, absolutely.
It happened.
So it's important.
And it happened 1 year for you. But if you go to Coral Gables Senior High, it happened in the first year for them. So it's the power of the parents and the persistence of the utilization of that power to influence those who make those decisions. Yes, we passed the bond issue.
Yeah.
The money is in place.
Sure.
So the issue becomes who establishes the priority list going forward.
Yeah.
And that's based on parent power.
Yeah. If people don't ask for it,
You
even
go
though the
to
money's
bottom
there.
line, the money's line. Whoever articulates up front that I want my school, school.
I know my school is owed this kind of money for these kind of improvements. Why hasn't it been done?
That's correct.
Something as simple as that.
That's correct.
If you got 10 people to do that for one school, it'll happen.
It happened.
Yeah.
It happened. So part of what you and I've got to do is to create this coalition of parents who are prepared to go down to the school board meeting with you. Because if I don't multiply you.
Yeah, well, it's tough. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it said it's tough.
It's tough.
You only got 2 minutes, man.
Yeah, well, it's tough. And then you have to convince people to be respectful, and you have to make sure everybody's, it's sometimes it just gets out of hand. I've seen it so many times where people just go in there and you say, "Oh my God, what's going on? Is this another one of those things going on?" And it's to me it's frustrating because I feel that there's a good way to get things done, and then there's a wrong way to get things done. And at least that's been my experience. Now, I could be wrong. I'm sure that people have different ways of advocacy. I just have my particular way that nobody has to follow the way I do, whatever I do. It's you put yourself in a certain situation when you have to somehow when it's more than yourself. And I haven't had my experiences. I haven't had to go and how would I say, advocate with other people that may not have the same kind of styles or strategies or so forth and so on. So it's not an easy scenario. And if things don't work right, if you organize something that doesn't go in the right way, it demoralizes what you've been trying to do for many years. So you have to be very careful also when you try to recruit folks to do something. And you have to do it the right way. It's a time-consuming process, I would say, and you have to make them civics. It's all about civics, right? And that's why I've always been very made my point on civics. It's very important. How to talk to people, how to advocate, how would I say to get your point across. And you have to do it with facts, and you have to do it with documentation, and you have to do it respectfully, and you have to many times do it at the right time. Sometimes there's so many things going on that the least thing they're going to do is listen to you or anybody else. You have to. It's all a matter. Many times, what they say is that things happen. It's a timing issue, right? So there's a lot of things that go into advocating and making a collective effort to get things. The first thing you have to do is make sure that what you're asking for is reasonable, and that it makes sense, and that it's going to actually improve the bottom line of the school system. That's going to, capital improvements. That's going to improve their enrollment, right? So if you have nicer schools, it's in your best interest to change out all the air conditionings, right? And if you have wall units and stuff like that for 10 years, that's not a good thing, right? So those are the kind of things that just make sense, and those are things that everybody can agree on.
Here's what we're gonna do together.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about it for sure. I'm getting ready. I don't know what it is. But...
this is what we're gonna do together. We're gonna use an old civil rights strategy that we had back in the day.
Okay. Well, that's gonna be new for me. A civil rights strategy. Okay.
You're the scholar.
Oh, wow.
You're Martin. You make the presentation. You're calm.
Okay.
You articulate.
Okay. All right.
You're highly intelligent.
Oh,
You do the research.
okay.
You can stay within the framework of 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's not easy to do.
That's
either.
not easy to do.
That's for
But
sure.
when I read your stuff,
Yeah.
it's so packed.
Yeah.
Every second of those 2 minutes.
Sometimes I just don't even show up at the school because I know it's not going to take 3 minutes.
Yeah. It's there.
Yeah.
Right. Then I'm going to be Jose Williams.
Okay.
I'm gonna be at the other mic.
Okay.
Right. And I'm going to be jumping up and down, raising my fists,
All right.
carrying on.
Okay.
With the same intent in mind.
All right.
Because there's got to be a strategy to make this happen. I mean, they just listen to you and say, well, hey, here he comes again. How you doing this evening? Fine. And you're on the buzzer. You make this outstanding presentation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, second to none in terms of content,
Sure.
research,
Right.
rational behavior. Second to none.
Sure.
And then the buzzer goes off.
That's it.
That's it.
See you later.
See you later. So I want you to make the presentation going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to be coming behind you or before you.
Oh.
I might go before you and say that y'all better listen to him.
Oh, okay.
If y'all don't listen to him, then I'm coming back down tomorrow with 400 parents.
Okay.
We got to have a strategy to make this happen. we got to make this happen, because your research, your proposals, your solutions, they are heard, but not reacted to.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I think that what happens many times is that it's, the delayed effect many times happens is that you say something like one time and then people forget about it and then somebody picks it up and, hey, what a great idea that is. Then, and then obviously nobody ever remembers that idea.
Yeah, but we can count those times. Because I've been following your stuff. We can count those times.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we can count those times.
That's okay. I don't mind. As long as people do what they're supposed to do.
They're not going to do what they're supposed to do as long as we keep presenting and they do what they want to do when they want to do it.
Right.
And I'm saying to you that the way we're going to work together is that you're going to do the scholarly piece with all the research, all the public rationale, which makes it make sense.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be saying if y'all don't do it, I'm gonna run somebody against you.
Well, okay. All right. I'm not.
No, I don't want you. I don't want you.
Yeah, I'm not in the political.
I don't want you. I want you to be the scholar, presenter with all the facts,
sure,
all of the reasoning and all the rationale.
Right.
That is acceptable to all school board members, and that the press will understand.
Sure.
And all of the intellectuals will be able to embrace.
Well, a lot of intellectuals don't agree with me.
Don't have to agree, but they cannot debate the scholarly matter in which it's presented. They cannot debate the research that's done that goes into it. They cannot debate the sincerity of the presenter. Right. None of that can never be questioned.
I always try to be balanced in my approach.
Read your stuff. None of that can ever be questioned.
I thank you for that.
Nobody's
ever said that.
No, it can't be questioned.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
No, you don't see any bias in the stuff that you write. You see common good for the majority. Common good.
Appreciate that.
What is right.
Thank you.
Now, I read all your stuff.
Thank you.
So they can accuse you of where he's just out because he's a Cuban, or he's just out because he's in.
Yeah, because I wanna make Willard Fair happy.
Right. Yeah, no. They can't say that about your stuff. You come, uncovered with no agenda.
Right.
What's best for the system? I read all your stuff, and it's consistently saying that.
Thank you.
It's not about my child. I'm a parent, but it's about all children.
Right.
You never single out your school.
No.
Never single out your experience. You talk in the broad sense.
Right. Never single out any particular person.
Not what's up. Not what's up.
Don't do that.
Not what's up.
Cool
but somebody got to do that. That's my role.
Oh.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I won't link you up.
Okay.
All
right.
It only makes you more powerful, because what happens is that when you make the scholarly presentation, the light goes off, and they go to the next item.
And there goes Willard Fair. Okay, well, that's interesting.
Somebody got to build on that.
Okay, well, We'll talk about that for sure.
Somebody got to build on that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right.
No, I'm not asking you to become me, and I'm not going to become you.
No.
I'm saying to you that as we attempt to coalesce
Sure.
to bring about the change that is necessary, that there has to be a strategy to penetrate the system. And I learned that very clearly in the civil rights movement. You are the guy, Martin. You preach it.
You're the man.
You the man, and we're gonna be standing beside you.
Okay.
And we're gonna say amen.
Yeah, for sure.
But they need to know that if they don't do right, then somebody else is going to be saying the same thing differently. That's the revolution.
Well, I don't know. Well, I'll say, you mean a counter-revolution, maybe?
But that is the only way the systems change, is that they must be challenged to change, not educated. See, you educate them. They cannot say that this absolutely, this is well thought out. This is a great presentation, erudite, scholarly. Boom, the buzzer goes off.
Well, we'll see. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. As long as things make sense and we can.
All of it's going to make sense. The issue is, how do we mobilize parents to have influence on the education delivery system?
That's very important
in our community.
Sure.
How do we do that? That at the end of the day, that's the goal.
Sure.
Okay. At the end of the day. And when we do that right, then we get the kind of change. So I'm looking forward to forming this relationship. This is just the beginning of our conversation.
Absolutely. We can
I'm
sure we're going to be able to talk further.
Without a doubt. Looking forward to it. Thank you very much for being with me. I've enjoyed it. Let me know when you want to come back for phase 2 of the whole process. And
right.
Thank you very much for being with us this evening, talking to my new friend, an articulate intellectual who understands how to say it right so that folks will respond accordingly. I'm saying to him that as he says it right, if they don't do right, then I'm coming behind them. Y'all be good. See you next week.
About most of our lives, but we've made it still standing, 'cause they can't destroy what's inside. Black people keep going.